I'm so excited for y'all to meet Zara Watson-Young. So, Zara is an award-winning trademark attorney dedicated to protecting female founders and empowering entrepreneurs. Together with her husband Sean, they co-founded Watson&Young, which is a family-run law firm that has helped over 900 brands globally secure their identities, shut down copycats, and prevent business disruptions. Her firm has successfully defended small businesses against industry giants like Elle Magazine, saved clients from costly rebranding, and protected valuable investments from trademark conflicts. As a wife, mother of two daughters, and advocate for small business owners, Zara brings a unique ability to turn complex legal concepts into clear, practical steps to help her clients protect and grow their brands. And I know she's done that for me. So I'm so excited to share her with you. So welcome to the podcast, Zara.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for our conversation.
Me too. And what's special, Zara and I were talking before we got started today, and we met from, to no surprise, being in a room. We
Yeah.
both paid over $1,000, couple thousand maybe, to be in a room with other successful entrepreneurs, and we got connected that way. And it just makes me you know how strongly I am about getting in the right room. And Zara, I imagine for your business too, that's been like a connection point for you.
A game changer for sure. It's changed everything. Being in certain rooms, meeting certain peoples, you never know the connections that are going to form, right? Like we had no idea that we'd be connected simply by just going to a conference. So
Yeah.
I'm such a big advocate for that, just being around that energy. And again, you just never know who you're going to meet and how it's going to impact, your future. So
Truly. The best part is I was up in the hotel room pumping while Hannah met you because every 3 hours I was like, gotta go, gotta go. And so I was with my friend Hannah, which highly recommend bringing a friend with you when you're going on a business trip or to an event like the Power of Paid Ad Summit, which Zara will be there. But bring a friend, and then that friend may meet someone that connects you because you and I actually didn't meet at the event. We
right,
just met
right.
because we were at the same event.
Right, right. And it's so funny. My two girls were upstairs. I had, she was what? Oh my gosh, maybe 10, 11 months at the time. So I hear you. I'm still nursing her. So kudos to you.
Us moms, like I want you to know,
Yeah.
many of the women who have like considered coming to the summit, for instance, they're like, hey, is there a nursing room? Yes. Hey, can I bring my baby? Yes.
Yeah.
We're women who are running our own businesses, and we're moms, and they are both like impacting our family's life, impacting the women that we get to serve are both so important. And so I and you didn't let that stop us. We're like, we're gonna do both, you
Yep.
know?
When you want to make something happen, you will, right? You will find a way. So don't let that stop you from being in the room. So definitely.
Yeah. So Zara, this is like the story of my life with anybody that I work with. My initial reaction is I don't need this. I'm
Mm.
like, nobody's gonna actually try to steal this. Like, who would do that? I'm like, that would be so mean. I'm like, who would take this and say, let me go monetize this? Like, and Zara's like, and not everyone is gonna act the way maybe I would or you would. And so she said something when we were on a call, and it was like, you told me a story of how someone kind of had to buy back their brand in a way or
Yes.
rebrand. And like that is a thought that never once in my business have I ever thought about is like a thing that could happen.
Right. Legal is usually the last thing that anyone wants to think about. And I get it, right? You want to focus on, especially when you're first starting out, the branding, getting your website, getting, pretty logos done. But legal, especially when it comes to trademarking, it is the foundation. Oftentimes business owners think, oh, I have an LLC, I'm an S corp, I'm fine, right? Like I have everything in place. I have a few contracts here and there. No, when it comes to actually owning the actual brand, that is where trademarking comes in. And if you want to go after anyone who's copying you, the only way to do that is through a trademark. Your LLC has nothing to do with it, right? Having a contract, yes, that's important and that's great. But if you want to stop someone from copying you, maybe they're copying your content, maybe they're copying, your course name or methodology name, etc. The only way to be able to do that is through trademarking. So we can go on and on in terms of stories of people, clients having to buy back a name. The
Can you
client.
tell me a story about that? Like, do you have yeah.
Yes. So she's pretty big in the personal finance space. Her podcast is the number one podcast in the personal finance space. And she had been operating for basically 5 years. And she was now ready to start the trademark process. And we did a comprehensive search. That's the first part of the process. And when we did that search, we discovered that someone already had a registered trademark. So
Mm.
she's like, oh my gosh, she's like, I'm not changing the name. I've become known for this. And we basically, one of the options that we gave her was to basically reach out to that company, their hedge fund, and see if they would be willing to negotiate to sell the name to her.
Mm.
So we had to talk about numbers, right? How much are you willing to, sell or excuse me, buy the name for? And ultimately, that hedge fund didn't want to, sell the name, right? They were asking a lot of money and they're just like, it's not really worth it to us. So we had to go back and forth. And she's still using the name, which is great, thankfully. But, it's a huge risk, right? Because they basically can just come after her and have her take everything down. So
Mm.
that's one example. We had a client, she spent $40,000 on product packaging. It's a story I talk about all the time. Thankfully, we were able to, in a way, perform a miracle because that attorney who reviewed her application, by the grace of God, they allowed that application to proceed because the
Wow.
names are so similar. And it's still risky, right? Because she doesn't have that peace of mind because that name, it's essentially similar to another name. So she spent $40,000 in product packaging, did that, and then came to us to start the trademark process. And when we did the search, we're like, oh my goodness, this name is already taken. Essentially, it's very, very close. So, here are the options. We can still proceed. And she's like, let's still file and see what happens. And thankfully, we were able to have the trademark register, right?
Wow.
So there's so much at risk if
Yeah.
you wait and don't do don't take the proper steps.
Yeah. I just hadn't thought about even when you and I have worked together. And by the way, if you're listening, Zara is also a client. We're a client of each other's.
Yes.
So she's helping with the trademarking. She also is excited to share some of her like the wins that she's had with ads. And what's great, all of the time on this podcast and YouTube channel, we talk about specific data and numbers, but there are other wins that come from learning ads. And she's going to talk a little bit about that. And honestly, what it had, the revenue it's going to save her long term. We're going to talk about that too. But when Zara and I met, I actually had a specific scenario where there was a little bit of just, I guess you could say in a way, using what I kind of saying what I was saying, someone else was saying what I was saying. Um, and so we were trying to navigate, I was trying to navigate that with her. I'm like, what do you do? How does this work? And so I just learned so much about what is and is not allowed. And also when something does happen, how do you approach it? Like, what are the best steps? Because the example I give all the time, Zara, is you don't want to learn how to change your tire when your tire's flat on the interstate.
Yes.
Like it's so much better if you would just know how to do that proactively so that when it does happen, you're like, I have a plan,
Yes, exactly.
and so you help me navigate that. Because especially with Instagram and everything, the YouTube, it's very
Wow.
easy for someone to see it and say, let me just go do that exact same thing because obviously that's working. So let me just take what somebody else has already done and do it.
The internet is a wild, wild west. I always say that, and it's better to be prepared because, as you're growing your business, as you're scaling, it's not a matter of, if, it's when, right? Because with more visibility, I always talk about this, with more visibility comes the risk of people copying you, right? Like you just said, people are like, oh, this must be working for her, so let me copy the same exact thing. And one of the ways to combat that is to have your trademark registered and your copyright registered. And the reason is because if you want to take this to the next level, let's say someone is copying your entire course, right? They've literally copied everything verbatim. And you're like, oh my goodness, I have to go to court. I have to have maybe recoup some of these profits that they've made. The
Mhm.
first thing a judge will ask you is, do you have your trademark and your copyright registered? If you don't, you won't be able to, recover anything, right?
Wow.
It's really important to have these things in place. Like we have people come to us all the time and saying, oh, I want to send a cease and desist here, cease and desist there. And the first thing I ask is, are these things registered? So we will actually register your trademark, at least have a pending application before sending a cease and desist out. So
Hmm.
these are really foundational, elements that you want to make sure you have in place.
Yeah.
Because again, right, it's just a matter of when.
Hmm.
Really.
Zara and I were talking about ads, and it actually ties to what she was just talking about of how, like, if you wait until it's too late, it can cost you so much money
Yeah.
that you just didn't. It's honestly just money you didn't have to spend. Like you could have not had to spend on like having to do a lawsuit, or go back and rebuy your brand, like all these things. Business owners, what we'll do is we'll often sell ourselves and why we don't need this now. But it's the same thing with insurance. Why do you get insurance? You don't think that you're going to get an offender bender. You don't think bad things are going to happen. But
Right.
insurance is required for your vehicle for a reason because it happens. And it's
Right.
like the thing about this industry is it's not required. So you can actually just not pay for it and then have to pay so much on the back end. And I actually feel that same thing about ads. And I've shared this recently, but and so Zara outsourced, you outsourced your ads for a little while, right? So there's three things I like to think about. When you outsource your advertising, it cuts into your revenue. When you don't advertise, it costs you revenue. And when you know how to advertise yourself, it creates revenue. And so Zara and I, like people don't think about this, but Zara and I were talking and she had worked with someone to help her with ads for a little while. And it was like what, thousands of dollars per month for a little while?
About $4,000 a month. Yes.
4,000 a month. And I told Zara, I'm like, if you find someone there's there's such a spread of experience, right? And everybody has to start somewhere. But you find someone that's skilled, and so you
Mhm.
pay them $4,000 a month, and that's wonderful. And they may do a great job, and they may actually get you
Right.
results. But
Right.
what's hard is that $4,000 is coming off the top every single month. So 4 times 12, so that's $48,000 a year. So it's $500,000 over 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's hard. Imagine indefinitely, you know?
Right. Especially, I mean, I'm sure with every industry there are certain maybe agencies that, specialize in working with these types of groups. But for us as lawyers, there's a lot of marketing agencies, ad agencies, that want to work with law firms, and they make a lot of promises, which I understand, and I know that it was well intentioned.
Totally.
I didn't know anything that was going on. Even the videos that they were asking us to send, there was no strategy. It's like, oh, like, you have this video, let's just see how it works. There was no strategy behind it, like knowing what I know now. So it's so interesting having gone through a lot of, your course modules in comparison to what they were doing. It's like, wow, like I had no idea what was going on and I wasted so much money. So I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to you and your course and what I'm learning. I just feel so much more empowered and I understand the basics, right? It's like, okay, this is how you set it up. This is what you're looking for. These are the certain keywords. You always talk about having intent, right? Knowing the intent
Yes.
of whoever is searching for you. So that alone is just it's so powerful. So I'm so grateful.
Yeah. And it's not to say, and I'm so thankful too, because well, let me ask you this, Zara. Most business owners would say, hey, I'm wearing so many hats. Should I
Yeah.
be the one to learn this? What was your take on that? Because I know you're busy, you have so many clients. So
Yeah.
how did you rationalize it in your mind as to why it was worth it for you to learn it or have someone on your team be able to look at it too?
Yeah. I mean, I think having gone through that bad experience really taught me it's like, yes, we are so busy because, we're done for you service, right? So we're doing a lot of deliverables, client calls, on top of that marketing as well. But at the same time, it's like thinking long term, I need to know the foundations, right? When it's time for me to pass this on to someone else, which we actually have a marketing agency, at least I know I can actually just, review their work and I know what to look for.
Yeah.
So that alone is worth every penny to me, and it's saving me money, right? Saving me headache.
Mhm.
And just
Yeah.
peace of mind, right? I know now when I pass it on to someone, I know what to look for. I know if they're doing the right thing and if they're spending too much. That alone is huge, right? It's like I don't have to start out spending, $4,000 to run ads. I can start with like $5, $7, $10, and just work my way up incrementally. And I'm tracking everything. So it
Mhm.
really empowers you. Literally every day I track. Like, okay,
I'm
how many clicks did we get today? So it's fun. I find it fun.
And it is fun. I mean, I'm biased. I tell everybody, I'm like, you think you don't want to run ads? Start getting in the weeds and seeing how cool and specific and targeted you can
Yeah.
be.
Yes.
And Zara mentioned like keywords. And so for those of you listening who don't know, when you do it the right way, there is a way that you can essentially handpick your clients that they're actually looking for exactly what you have to offer. Now, there's a process to doing that, but knowing how to do that the right way and how to think about what you're doing, it can save you so much. So what Zara is doing is every day she's setting up, she's seeing, and she's finally you're getting now traffic to your website
Yeah.
daily for people searching for exactly what you've created.
Yep. And another thing that I love learning are the negative keywords.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm like, what? They're negative. I can like, I can specify what I don't want people to search for. That is amazing. So
It
I
is
didn't know that before.
it's like going to a restaurant and saying, I really want this, but do you have anything gluten free? And they're like, we do have something you'll love, and it doesn't have this thing. Like
Yeah.
so Zara has learned, like you can actually target. Here's what I love about targeting, which I know she can go talk about copyright and trademark all day. I can talk about ads all day. There is a way that you really can make sure that it's the right people and actually exclude certain things. Um, when you know what you're doing. That's the thing. It's like if you didn't take this course, who's going to teach you randomly? Or if you don't know, you could open up a Google Ads account. You would never know that that's a thing.
No.
And even if you knew it was a thing, you wouldn't know how to do it.
Right.
It's it's so many intricate details, and Zara, I bet you feel the same way that someone might could go online and try to do their trademarking stuff on their own. They have no clue about the intricacies. They have no clue about who would actually advocate them. They don't know what class. There's so many minute details.
Yeah.
You and me both could have people. They're like, I can just figure it out, but it's not a good idea.
Yep. Not at all. And we do have people who do that and they come back to us and, sometimes we have to clean things up. So it's going to cost you more, really. And your brand, this is your livelihood, right? So misclassifying things, not including, enough classifications to protect you. So there's so many things that you can do wrong, just like in ads. So
Yeah. I forgot if I shared this on one of the podcast episodes recently, so I'll keep this example short. But I had they were actually the small group. So I a couple years ago, my husband and I were in a small group with our church. It was like a husband and wife, and he owns a remodeling business in Texas, and he paid a Google Ads expert to run his ads. And within about 15 minutes, I could see the volume of money. Not that they had just paid him, but the volume of money that had been spent on someone searching for interior design. And I'm like, uh-oh, he hired an expert who is absolutely not serving ads for home remodeling, and they're paying them and the ad spend. And it's
wow.
just, I know it's scary. That's why, when people say to me in the past, and I'm sure people have said this to you, someone has said, oh, I've worked with a trademark attorney, it didn't go well. Oh, I've tried ads, it didn't go well.
Right.
There's a way that it does. And it's the level of skill. The performance will fall to the level of the skill, and you have a high level of skill in what you do, and I have a high level of skill in what I do. So just because someone's had a bad experience in the past with ads or even lawyers, attorneys in general, it doesn't mean there's not a great option out there.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And it's interesting that now that I were talking about this, it's like, wow, you probably for the ads industry, there's probably a lot of negative, connotations or just like stereotypes with ads, just like with lawyers, right? It's like, oh, the lawyers XYZ. And I'm
Yeah.
sure with ads as well. So I think it's so important to have these conversations to show, not every bad experience is going to continue to be that way, right? Like
Hmm.
there are good people in the world doing good work, and who are experts and who can help you.
Yep. That's exactly right. So, Zara, I know that you have learned some Google ads and you've learned some Meta ads. Do you see yourself long term just being the one at your company who is just kind of leading the strategy? Like you're not implementing, you at least can have the conversations. Like do you
Oh yeah.
feel like that's your role?
Oh yes, that is my role
Yeah.
now for sure. I am absolutely big picture. So definitely in terms of ads, definitely leading the conversation. I think I may have mentioned to you before, we hired recently a marketing agency.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're doing a lot of our social media. And that's one area that, I do plan to pass on to them, but I'm just so grateful that I know what to do and to tell them, these are the keywords, here's what's working, here's what's not working for Google and then for Meta. Um, the story follow. I didn't even know
Yeah.
about that, which has been great in terms of increasing the number of followers and just
Yeah.
on our page. And then we did a few carousel ads, which you recommended. We have a personal stylist contract template. We have contract templates along with what we do as trademark attorneys. And that's one of our best sellers. So knowing like the
Mm.
interest, like I've been very specific in terms of that, the demographics, all this information. I just feel like when it's time, I'm ready. I know what to do and what to say.
And you know what questions to ask. I mean,
Right.
at the end of the day, whether it's me, whether it's you listening, your ignorance will cost you eventually.
Yes.
Like I think about how I went to this tax conference. Someone was like, "Why are you at a tax conference?" I'm like, "Because I need to know this stuff."
Yeah.
I need to know about, I need to have a foundation on ads. I need to have a foundation on money things. I need to have a foundation on copyright trademark. I need to have a foundation on leading and growing a team. Like as a business owner who's actually taking their business very seriously, there's a certain level of knowledge that you need even to hire the person that you should have be the expert. Like
Yeah.
it's not that you're assuming all these roles forever. Now, some of you may literally love ads so much. You're like, this is fun. I want to do this forever once you get into a groove. And others of you may say, I want to just be able to lead the person well, ask the right questions, not get taken advantage of for a lack of knowledge. And this is one of those areas, both of ours, what our businesses are, that I'm now realizing are like super critical because eventually it'll cost you if you don't know about one or the other.
I agree 100%. One of the big things that we always speak about during our first call is the vision of the brand, right?
Mm,
Where are we going? Like, and that plays into who you need to hire, right? So it's like
yes.
that conversation of who you're becoming and who you need to be involves these decisions and having that awareness and not being ignorant because, like you said, that will cost you so much more not knowing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Zara. So obviously, when we think about math and numbers for just a second, we think about how you and I paid a certain amount to be in a room at Myron's event, which was so good. And then, if anything came from it, I became your client. You became my client. Like,
Yes.
people go to events because they think they're going to learn about the topic, which is cool because you do get that for sure. And
Mhm.
these doors have opened. So, for someone who is on the fence of learning about what they should do about their trademark, learning, on the fence of learning about paid ads, on the fence of even attending the summit, which you and I will both be at. Is there anything you could tell that person that maybe feels they're just not there yet? They're like, I don't have a business like Zara or Ashley's yet, or maybe I've already got this figured out. I'm making it. Because there's the people that feel like they're behind, and there's people that may feel like they're too far ahead. Like, what would you say to that person when you think about why is it valuable in general to get in the rooms with other people that are doing different things than you?
I'm such a big believer in never stop learning, right? You've never arrived. So always, always, it's true.
It's true. You have
Right,
never
you've never.
arrived.
So you want to, how do I put this into words? It's that on top of your vision, right? So it's like, who do you see yourself being, right? So it's like if that future you is, making whatever amount of money and like just whoever that person is, you have to put yourself into certain environments to become that person, right?
You
So
do.
I'm such a big believer in just doing whatever you need to do to surround yourself with people who are already where you want to be. It's never too early to start. And just having a curious mind, right? Learning. You want to just put as much information as you can into your mind so that you can eventually become that person and just continue learning, right? You never ever stop. So I can't advocate enough being in environments where people are already doing what it is that you want to do. That energy is so palpable and you just never know who you're going to meet. So,
Mhm. Doors open you don't even know are there.
yeah.
I was listening to a podcast on the way back from this tax strategy event, and they were talking about how one of the number one indicators of a successful business or business owner is curiosity.
Mm.
And you know what I thought about? I thought about how curiosity killed the cat, but it saves the entrepreneur.
That's hilarious. I always tell Sean that. That's so
Yeah.
funny I said that. Because he's so curious. I'm like, curiosity killed the cat, but not when it comes to business.
No, it saved the entrepreneur.
Yes, it's so true.
Hmm.
So true.
Okay, Zara. So the last thing before we go is when it comes to ads, is there anything, and just from learning, just from the bit you have from what you've started so far, is there anything that has surprised you about like actually learning some of this?
How low I can bid.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
that's
That was a
cool.
huge game changer for me. I was like, seriously, I can start with like $2, $3. What? I didn't know that.
Wow.
Remember my past experience, we were spending basically 4,000 a month. So I thought I had to spend thousands of dollars to just get clicks because we're in New York. I didn't mention that in the beginning, but we're based in New York. So it's a very competitive legal market. So in my mind, it's like, yeah, people were spending, $10,000 a month, 20, whatever amount, but definitely more than like a few dollars. So the fact that I could start bidding so low was a huge game changer for me.
Okay, I was not expecting that. But that's actually good because one of the number one questions I get in the business is, okay, well, how much should I spend on ads? And I'm like, well, especially with Google, we're going to start real low. Like, we start as low as we can go. It's limbo. How low can you go? And it's
Yeah.
intentional, like why we start that way. But that's so interesting because it's not that you nor I, like I tell everyone that my dream for you is you have an unlimited budget because if it's performing so well, you don't care. But the great news is you can start there and get some data and then scale. That's where I started. It's where Target started. It's where every brand, Starbucks start. They all started not spending $1 million a day. They started small and then it just started to like snowball where you were like, okay, we got a client. Let's put 20% of that back into ads. Let's put 20. And so that makes me so happy. So everyone listening, yeah, Zara indeed. I think you started your Google campaign with just $5 or $10 a day just to get started.
Yep.
And now you're getting the right people for less than that per click.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Oh my
So
gosh. I was just not expecting that, but I love it. And it is so comforting because whether you want to spend $1,000 a day or five, you can, and it can be on the exact right person that you want to target, which is so fun.
Yep. Absolutely. Prior to that agency I was telling you about, a lot of people that I spoke to, they were saying, oh, in your market, you have to spend like the average like cost is like 3,000, 4,000. So when I did hire that agency, yep. When I did hire that agency, they were like, yeah, it's about 4,000 a month. I was like, okay, like this is like the normal. So we're going to have to just spend that much money. So when I discovered you and we were talking, I was like, I didn't know that I could spend this
Little
local
initially.
to really get started. So
Yeah,
yeah.
think about how knowing what you know now, if you spent $4,000 a month just on your ads, how much traction, like you would for sure, I feel like it's nearly certain you would get a couple clients on
Right.
Google. And I know
Yeah.
you're just getting started with that and that's the
Yes.
whole goal. But
Yes.
like that volume and just actually the people versus the actual outsourcing of that.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So thank you, Ashley.
Thank you for enlightening me so much. I'm really glad that I found you, and I just know that that's why I do what I do is because there's people that are searching for you. So I'm so excited that more people are going to find Zara. And so if you want to meet Zara and ask her your trademark questions, because I know you have them, I'll link to her profile below. But also she has a VIP platinum ticket to the Power of Paid Ads Summit.
Yes.
So you would get to meet her and she's going to be there in that VIP room. So there's still a few tickets as you listen to this now to get in the room with Zara for the VIP ticket or the VIP platinum ticket holders. And it's going to be really good. You get to
Yeah.
meet women like Zara.
Get in the room, guys. I cannot stress enough the importance of what we do, right? Like you are helping people become findable and we're helping you protect that visibility. So I hope to see you there and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
It is. I can't wait. Thanks, y'all. I will see you on the next episode.